Life's focus point is always communication, and I know we've talked about strategic planning for several years, and we're really close. We've had our first meeting with Debbie Powers. Tanya and I met with her through a link meeting. No one had to travel. We did it through link. We met with her over link this Friday, and she's planning on attending our board meeting on February the 11th. So she wants to talk to you and get to know you and get to know, what it is we want to accomplish through the strategic plan. After she meets with us through a board meeting, then what we'll be doing would be more of a summit-like meeting where we invite the entire community to be a part of what is it that we want to accomplish in Marion County, and how can all of us work together as partners so that all of our kids graduate college and career ready. And this strategic plan will drive all the things that we do. And this strategic plan will work out wonderfully, since we're actually going to start our facilities planning committee next school year, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, hopefully everything we do, whether it's facilities planning, whether it's the textbooks we buy or we don't buy, how we fund positions or programs, it'll all revolve around our strategic plan. And obviously that'll be around our mission, vision, and our core beliefs and what this organization believes in.
Do you have a feel for how long it might take to get through this planning process? I mean, has she, the person you're talking with, discussed that?
We've not really talked about that specifically, but that's one of the things we'll do on February the 11th. We will actually create a timeline.
Okay.
And so, I know that Tammy met with her one-on-one over the phone. We've met with her one time. We will meet with her at a board meeting. I assume, the summit will be a pretty large group of folks. And depending on what comes out of that, we may meet again, and then it may be that we meet quarterly. That may be something that comes out of that. I'm sure that what will grow out of that also will be some subcommittees. And so I would think if everyone's going to have a stake in this, and ownership, I don't want to say buy-in, I want to say if they want to have ownership, that's something that we should probably be looking at not just one time or two times, but throughout our plan. Because, my thought is what we do today determines where this community will be 20 years from now. This isn't about 4 years from now or 4 days from now. The decisions we make, how we spend our money, how we utilize our personnel, how we use our time. If you think about a child walking through those doors at age 4 or 5, how are they going to walk out 12 years from now? And the decisions we make today will help dictate their college and career readiness. Very, very important, and I'm really, really excited. And I think you all will be so pleased with what she's going to bring.
Well, I've been advocating this for 3 years now, because that's the long length of the board, and I always thought something we should do, and I'm glad we're doing it now.
And gentlemen, I got a question about this. And who determines what kids, and what process do we use to determine what kids is going to get into early childhood? Or, I guess...
Or preschool?
Preschool.
Okay, right now there's 2 criteria, and that's basically poverty and if they have a disability.
And how is that determined, and who does it?
The poverty is, it's a guideline from the state. Is it state or federal? It's a federal guideline, and they set that criteria.
And who decides that? I mean, I was asked, because this guy has 2 small children, and he asked the question, who decides where which children get those positions?
He's saying who's looking at the information in our district.
Yeah, I mean, these are new kids that's coming in that we've never had.
Right. The director of special ed, that they will go through a registration process and fill out the paperwork, and there will be a screening, and then based on the screening and the testing and those results, and they match that up against the guidelines, and that will dictate whether they qualify or don't qualify. And we all know how important it is, and wouldn't it be nice if every child had an opportunity to go to preschool in Marion
And
County?
we talked about that. And I said we would love to open the doors up to that, but we do not have the room to do
We
that.
don't have the room, nor do we have the funding. We're only funded for those students who qualify for those two categories. Now, you know, what may grow out of this, when we talk about, you know, this starts at birth to graduation, and reading to your child 20 minutes every day in early childhood, you know, maybe something will grow out of this strategic plan to where we have an opportunity to provide that for everyone.
And help me out, I don't know. But at one time, didn't we allow kids to come and pay a tuition? I think.
Diane, you're saying
Diane
yes?
says yes.
It was, yes, it's been quite a long time ago, and we ended up, I remember when all that was changed, and then part of that was due to space, and you remember when we started all-day kindergarten, that took up part of our space too, and then when we did an analysis of whether it was feasible to continue doing that, and that all came about then.
But I just wanted to bring that up because it's a good time to ask that, especially when we're talking about strategic planning, because that may be something, you know, that you want to put in a strategic plan. How can we find a way to get, you know, the kids in early childhood?
Absolutely. And it's not just about funding teaching positions, it's also about the facility needs. You know, because if you're going to add rooms, you know, you have to actually physically have a classroom, and a classroom for a preschool room is different than a classroom for a 6th grade English language arts class. And so, but hopefully when we have this conversation, if that's something that our community supports, that will grow out of this strategic plan. I think we all agree that early childhood, you know, that's a means of being proactive with learning, and you know, that's the future of the community. Which goes along with next Friday we have, or this Friday, my weeks are running together, preschool and kindergarten registration at each school. And it looks as though the weather's going to hold out. We want to welcome our industrial maintenance teacher, Jason Tatum. He was hired at the Marion County Area Technology Center. Because of paperwork through the state, it's going to take until February the 17th to get him on board. But luckily, we have the retired industrial maintenance teacher there with the kids in the class. So they are receiving quality instruction from the retired instructor that had retired a couple of years ago. So he'll be on board February the 17th. Obviously, winter weather, that's a hot topic of conversation. We've had an early release day on December the 6th. We had 3 days after Christmas break, 4 days last week. We had a 1 hour delay today because of the wind chill factor. And currently our last day for students is Thursday, May the 29th, with staff closing day on Friday, May the 30th. That's if we have no other weather-related closings, okay?
And that still leaves spring break intact.
Yes, it does leave spring break intact. And with that being said, we have completed 94 days of instruction. We have 80 days remaining, 56 days until K-Prep, 24 days until all of the 11th grade students take the ACT. And whether we miss 4 days or no more days, those days for ACT, that's a set date. It's March the 4th. We have 12 weeks until AP testing, and there's so many career tests that are being taken place this semester, there's just too many dates to even list. But constantly this second semester, we will be doing COSA testing, COM testing, Coyote testing, work keys testing, all kinds of testing. But on a positive note, we are looking more now than we ever had of giving students an opportunity to take certificate-based testing. And that way when they leave, they have a piece of paper in their hand to say that I'm a certified welder, I'm a certified nurse's assistant, informational technology. So that gives them an opportunity to leave with a certificate in hand to go into the workforce immediately. So I think everybody should be excited about that. I think that we'll be doing more of that next year, and I think we're moving in the right direction. Do y'all have any questions? Yes, sir.
I have a question. When you were talking about the coaching sessions
Yes, sir.
with Mr. Farmer, Mrs. Newton,
Yes.
do they go with a plan? I mean, and then when they come back, do y'all sit down and talk about what they saw?
We have a meeting before the meeting, and then we have a meeting after the meeting. So they actually have a notebook.
Okay.
They have a notebook that they log all of those things. And we have an idea of, what are we going to focus on this week, and we may have 2 or 3 things. Sometimes it's general, sometimes it's specific based on maybe a need or what we see based on data, conversations. But we also have asked the principals, to leave a notebook by their computer, and as things come up throughout the week, to jot down some things that they need some support with. And so they can also have that one-on-one question answer to provide that support. Because we have several new principals in the district. And we want to provide, we want this office to provide support. We don't want that to be top down, we want it to be side by side. And we've talked about instructional coaches in our district, and that's not just about coaching teachers, but it's also about coaching principals as well. The same way that I have an executive coach for being a new superintendent, So, there's a lot of support needed when you have a new staff.
I guess the learning walks are the same.
Learning walks are the same. We have a focus, and we sit down with the principals and say, what is it that you want us to look for? What have you been monitoring? And it's wonderful when you can go back to that principal and say, hey, I see this. And if we don't see something, it's about what can we do to help you with that. And it's been a very positive, I think we're getting returns on our results. Not just with the learning walks, but also with the facility walks as well.
Good.
You've talked about this before, the number of people that go on these learning walks. Typically, are the same number of people, the same individuals that do these?
It varies. It varies, Mr. Cecil. It just depends on the day and what other folks have got going on. Sometimes we invite outside folks to come in and help us with that. Sometimes it's just folks in the central office. Sometimes we ask other principals from other buildings to go to that building, which serves as a professional growth opportunity for that principal, because they're actually going into another building, seeing samples of student work, seeing good instruction.
Would there be any room or possibilities to have principals outside the district do the same thing? Any kind of cooperation between districts doing that, maybe, perhaps?
Yes.
I think that'd be a good idea if Mr. and all the principals here to do this, set up some kind of co-op with other districts, maybe just exchange. Have somebody from outside the district occasionally will reap benefits as well, I believe.
And I believe, we've got some districts, Washington County, Boyle County, Tyler County, Campbellsville. We've got some places that we can go, Casey County. I would be happy to learn from them, and I'm sure they would love to come here and learn from us as well. And a lot of times just that collegial conversation that you have, and then next year with the PGES, the new evaluation system, one of the things that's required in that is that you have peer observations. And so actually we're going to have teachers observing other teachers and providing feedback. And that's going to be something that we've done, but not in a formal method. And so it's going to be a formal method, but hopefully we're all going to continue to be learning from one another.
Good.
Good.
Very good.
Thank you, Flora.
You're welcome.
Next, Tammy's going to give us a presentation on our